I was given this gadget. No, it doesn't work. No, I don't think we're going to get this one working. In fact, I know we won't because it requires a subscription and I don't have it. But what this was back in the day before we had streaming music services, retail stores and businesses would get their music through a DMX digital audio satellite receiver. This one's a DR500. It was given to me, and it just basically shows how it works. This was a service. DMX is actually still in operation, and you can pick it up with a satellite dish with a appropriate receiver. But they were a subscription-based service, and you had to be a subscriber. There was a couple different versions available. I remember going back to the 1990s. I think it was the 1990s, maybe the 1980s. Our local cable company started offering DMX music as a subscription service through the cable, because we had one in the store that I worked at that played music, and it hooked up to the coax cable. It was a box, looked very similar to this. This one doesn't have a power supply or anything. This one says power problem, so I'm sure it was replaced. And of course these days nobody would use this stuff anyway because it comes in on your internet now. All your music services come in on the internet, so why would anybody need a satellite receiver unless you're in an area where there is no internet? But DMX is still around on satellite as far as I know, as is Music Choice. I haven't listened in years, but I used to listen to them all the time because I could get it on my old DigiCipher receiver, would pick it up. It was always free, so I recorded a lot of stuff off DMX over the years, tons and tons. So it'd be interesting to see what's inside this little standalone box. So on the front of it, that would be the number I guess you would call to get a subscription. LNB power authorization, sync, mono A, mono B, and stereo. A 3-digit display to show you which channel you were on. And then some LEDs on the front. And what these LEDs on the front, believe it or not, are for is it has an infrared receiver and it has infrared LEDs on the front. And what they were for is if you had the interactive remote control, this would actually beam an infrared signal out from the front of the unit that the remote control would pick up, and it had an LCD screen on the remote control that would show you the name of the song that you were and the artist that you were receiving. That information was all available back then. As I say, this looks almost identical to the cable version that we had at the shop, except for instead of it going to a satellite input, it went to a coaxial input from the cable company. And for that matter, it may have been the same. It may have been the same box. They were just sending the signal. Who knows, right? All I know is that we had the box just like this. Often wondered what was inside one, but never had the opportunity to open one up until today. So that's what's inside. Got a lot of stuff in here for a little basic audio receiver. Got an Atmel chip. Got an Atmega chip. I guess an Atmega. This one is Atmel. Pretty sure that's an Atmega chip. Yeah, that'll be an Atmega. That's going to have the program and everything stored in it, and it'll be the main processor. Antrex Electronic Satellite Receiver. 1999 is when this was designed. So this would have been probably a late model unit, because again the one that I saw was back in the it would have been back in the late 80s, early 90s. I'm just trying to remember what store we were in. I think it was in the second store, so that would have been that would have been the 90s, mid 90s, where we had one of these set up. Anyway, tuner, satellite tuner over here. And power supply, regulation, and a bunch of chips, caps. It's got a coil here. This looks to be just a standard coil, not a transformer or anything, but it's just a ferrite bead wrapped. Got a Phillips chip over here. A couple of Texas Instruments. And of course the LED display on the front. That might be worth keeping, that 3-digit LED display. It's probably about the only thing on this that's worth even hanging on to is the display. I don't think there's any of the other parts on here that would really be worth hanging on to. Maybe the caps, pull the caps out, they look to be pretty high quality. They're Nikon caps, and I doubt that they've been used much. They've probably been very gently used. It's got, of course, surface mounted caps on here. I guess we could try powering it up. It takes 15 volts DC. Turn on my power supply and see whether the thing even lights up. We'll set the power supply up to 15 volts. Alright, let's just try powering this thing up for the hell of it and see if anything lights up or whether anything goes smoky and we get smoke coming out of this thing. I got a green light on the front. Oh, it's turning on. L&B power is lit. This thing might actually work, you know, if it had service. You know, it doesn't have service, so obviously it's not going to do anything. But it does power up. I'm curious as to whether those LEDs are going to try to emit anything. I guess I could turn my camera into night shot and see whether the emitters try to fire any data out. Well, let's just see whether anything fires up here. Nope, don't see any activity on the LEDs. They probably will only send information back to the remote in the event that it's actually receiving something. Oops. On the back, you had the SPDIF output for digital audio, a mono output that would be used to feed into like a PA system for background music, and of course stereo audio left and right. Data control, that was interesting because that would be the music information, that the title information. It probably also was the album art, because I know on my old satellite receiver, for example, when I was playing music, I would get album art. It would show up. We show the actual photo of the album on the screen, and that information was probably passed out this, you know, to an external processor for display. Anyway, I guess this was probably made in the States. It doesn't even say. I'm looking on the back here, and it doesn't even show where this was made, but I would imagine that this probably was domestically made. It looks to be very high quality. Antex Electronics, whoever they are, it does look to be a very high quality unit. And I think off this unit I'll be able to salvage some parts and then just send the rest of this off to be recycled. As I say, I got it from a guy that was going to recycle it just to show it to you guys. So there you go. There's the inside of a DMX Digital Audio Express receivers from Sound Solutions. It'd be great if it would work. If it would work, I would listen to it. But these days, really, this is pretty much redundant with all the audio services we can get now on the internet for free. Why would you subscribe? I say the same thing to why would anybody subscribe to XM radio either, but apparently they do. And Spotify and all those other services that I would never pay a dime for. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.